cluster wrap stitch is an unusual technique. It creates a nice smooth bobble on a background of stockinette stitch. You can add it anywhere you want to add a bit of texture or color to your knitting. I'm going to show you how to knit the cluster wrap stitch using one color, and then I'll show you how to knit it using 2 or more colors. To begin, cast on a multiple of 6 stitches plus 1. I have 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6 plus 1. Then work a few rows of stockinette stitch just for your setup rows. So I have about 3 rows of stockinette stitch here. I'm ready to begin row 1 of my pattern that includes this cluster wrap. I'll knit 2 stitches, then take my cable needle and slide the next 3 stitches onto the cable needle and off the left needle. Now I'm going to take my yarn, my main color yarn, and wrap it 6 times around these stitches on the cable needle. So I'm going to go around to the back. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see why I like to use this U-shaped cable needle, because I can keep my wraps nice and smooth. You don't absolutely have to do that. I just like the way that it looks there, but you can do this with a different kind of cable needle. So I've done my 6 wraps. I'm going to bring the yarn back round to the back and then slip these stitches back onto my right needle. So you can see there are the stitches. I have just wrapped my yarn around those 3 stitches, and I'm putting them back onto my left needle so that I can knit them. And here's my working yarn that's wrapped around there 6 times, and I left it in the back, so now I can just knit those 3 stitches. And you can see there's that cluster wrap right there. My pattern says to repeat that, so I'm going to knit 3, do another cluster wrap, so slide those on, wrap the yarn coming between the needles here from the back to the front and then around this cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slide those on down till I can see my working stitches hiding under those wraps. Put them back on the left needle. Make sure this yarn comes all the way around to the back. I almost lost part of a wrap there. And then knit those 3 stitches. I repeat that all the way across my row. And then knit 2. I've completed my row that has those big wraps on it. And you can see those kind of bobbles that I've made with my wraps. Now I'm just going to work 3 rows in stockinette stitch. So my next row is just a purl row. I have the same number of stitches I started with, and I'm just going to purl a row, knit a row, and purl a row. I've worked my 3 rows of stockinette stitch, and I'm ready to do another row with cluster wraps, and this time I want to put the cluster wraps offset. So I'm going to put one here and one here. But I think it would be more fun to do this with a different color. So I'm going to use a contrasting color to make my wraps. And the fun thing about this is I'm not even going to be knitting with the other color. I'm just going to be wrapping with it. I'll get that yarn ready and then begin the next row. So on this row I have to knit 5 because I'm going to be wrapping these stitches over here. Okay, so here I am ready to do my cluster wrap. I will slide the next 3 stitches onto the cable needle. But now I'm going to take up my contrasting color yarn and just leaving a tail back here because I need to weave that in later, so I want to leave at least a 4-inch tail. I'm going to treat it just like I treated my turquoise yarn. I'm going to wrap 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bring those stitches down and look, there are my turquoise stitches that I need to put back onto the needle. Bring the yellow yarn to the back and then pick up my working yarn, the turquoise yarn, and knit those stitches. So I'm only knitting with my main color yarn and I'm wrapping with my contrasting color yarn. So the next thing in the pattern is to knit 3. And here it's time to do another cluster. So I'm going to put these here, and now the yarn that I need is over here. It's okay for it to float a little bit. That was the yarn tail. Here's the yarn I need way over here. It's okay for it to float a little bit across the back. You just don't want to pull it too tightly. So you want to make sure that you're not pulling like that. You want to leave it floating across the back. So let's see if I can make it so that you can see this. Here's my working or my contrasting color yarn. I'm bringing it all the way across the back and around to the front, and then we'll do 6 wraps. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bring it to the back. Let's see if we can find those turquoise stitches. There they are. Slide them back onto the left needle. And then take my main color yarn and knit those 3 stitches. That locks in those wraps. And then this row ends with a knit 5. And there I have done those cluster wraps in the contrasting color yarn. And that yarn is just floating here across the back. If I want to, when I weave in my ends, I can tack that down a little bit, but it really should be fine. I'm going to cut the yarn and move on with my main color. So a few more rows of stockinette stitch and then another row of cluster wraps. And if you want, it can be another contrasting color. So you can really have fun with this stitch pattern. If you'd like more instruction like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out the links in the video notes for other ways you can find me. Thanks for watching.